Welcome to the Aria. It's fascinating that over 90% of our viewers connect deeply with our videos, yet choose not to subscribe. Speech Balloon if you've just joined us. Welcome to a place where every story is a journey through hidden truths, unspoken emotions, and endings that leave you breathless. Backhand index pointing right, still watching but haven't subscribed yet? Now's your moment. Hit that subscribe button, because what's coming next will pull you in deeper than you ever expected. Bell, and don't forget to tap the bell, so you'll never miss the next chapter that just might change everything. Right arrow, one click. One emotional journey. Come with us. In a heartbeat, you can help us create even more remarkable content just for you. The air crackled with tension, wrapping around me like a second skin. The pounding of my heart resonated in my ears, a relentless reminder of the choice that awaited me. Hello, I'm Eleanor Morgan. At 51, I find myself alone in a weathered wooden house, perched on the southern edge of Asheville, North Carolina. The house may be small and worn, yet it offers the solace I crave. The morning birds sing, the wind whispers through the eaves, and occasionally, I catch the soft patter of the neighbor's cat crossing the decaying fence. I no longer rush through life. No more chasing after endless meetings or enduring sleepless nights filled with the chaos of kids and work. The years have slipped away. Each morning I cradle a cup of black coffee, a thin blanket wrapped around my knees, my gaze locked on the old pine tree standing sentinel outside. It tilts gently to the left, as if straining to hear a whisper from the earth below. I have witnessed it transform through the seasons, vibrant green in spring, radiant gold in fall, stark and bare in winter. It stands as a time capsule, a quiet observer of the years that slip away. The small daily rituals hold my heart captive. The morning light seeps through the kitchen blinds at 7:53. I tread softly on the crackling hardwood floors, the warm scent of cinnamon wafting from Saturday morning toast. Old jazz spins on the cracked record player. Silence envelopes me. No children's laughter, no midnight phone calls, no texts asking where I am. I truly don't mind. I once had a family, a husband, 2 kids, a kitchen alive with the glow of mugs filled with dried lavender, and fleeting hugs stolen on the way to work. In that moment, everything shifted. My husband Michael passed away unexpectedly from a stroke at just 51 years old. I remember being that age as well. The kids grew up, left for school, and found work far from home. They showed their love in fleeting moments, swift phone calls, birthday gifts arriving just on time. My house is silent now, devoid of late-night conversations and the comforting knock at the door. Alone in this old house, I find a strange comfort in solitude. Some mornings I find myself frozen in time, captivated by the way sunlight caresses the wooden surface of the dining table. I cherish that sensation. It feels as though I have finally found harmony with time, no longer in a relentless pursuit. Yet, even as life glides effortlessly like a gentle stream, hidden currents can surge beneath the surface. What lingers refuses to fade, haunting me despite my efforts to bury it beneath the weight of time. Her name is Julia Harrington. Julia Harrington and I crossed paths at 14, in the midst of our American history class at a bustling inner-city high school. She sat beside me, her soft brown hair framing a face lit by bright eyes. Each word she spoke felt like a punchline, teasing laughter just beneath the surface. We forged an unbreakable bond. We penned letters, donned matching bracelets, and skipped gym class to hide beneath the oak tree in the parking lot, sharing cookies and spilling our wild teenage dreams. Once, Julia Harrington declared that if we didn't tie the knot, we would adopt a cat together. I burst into laughter, unsure if it was from the humor or a hidden wish for it to be real. We shared every moment of high school together. I held secrets from her, buried deep within, unidentified emotions. Nights spent listening to her laughter left my heart in agony. She was oblivious, or perhaps she was aware but simply turned a blind eye. After graduation, we stayed connected, but the passage of time and the twists of life pulled us away from each other. She left everything behind, embraced a new city, pursued her studies, and stepped into the workforce. I tied the knot and welcomed children into my life. The calls dwindled to a haunting silence. A Christmas card, a handful of birthday wishes, and then nothing but silence. Julia Harrington had faded from my mind, a distant memory lost to time. I chose to push her from my mind. Some memories resemble a frozen lake, pristine and serene, yet a single stone can send ripples through the stillness, shattering the surface completely. I had come to accept that lake as part of my life. Last week, a letter arrived. A real handwritten letter, not an email, not a text. The paper was delicate, a soft shade of ivory. The handwriting slanted gently, whispering secrets on the page. Julia Harrington's handwriting mirrored the notes I once tucked beneath my pillow in 11th grade. I opened it cautiously, fearing the return of a haunting memory. Eleanor Morgan, I'm returning to Asheville for a week. My mother requires a checkup, so I'll be looking after her for a few days. If you have a moment, I really want to see you again. Time has stretched endlessly. Julia Harrington. No embellishments. No lengthy terms. I sat there, fixated on that letter all morning, a knot of unease tightening in my chest. Emotions I believed were frozen solid surged back, like a hidden stream quietly flowing beneath the surface. I placed the letter on the table, then tucked it away in a drawer, only to pull it out once more. At last, I scrawled a brief note on a blank card. I'll come, Saturday if you can make it. My handwriting trembled, jagged and raw, yet I refused to alter it. I pressed the stamp down, let the letter slip into the wooden mailbox, and lingered, eyes fixed on the mail truck as it vanished into the distance, red dust swirling behind like a forgotten vow. Saturday approached, a bittersweet mix of anticipation and dread swirling within me. Some people, no matter how much time has gone by, remain etched in our hearts forever. Julia Harrington embodies that essence. Silence speaks volumes. Brevity holds power. A single name can summon them all once more. I filled my cup again, the rich aroma swirling around me. The sunlight spilled over the balcony's edge, casting a warm glow. The wooden chair outside held on to its warmth, a lingering trace of someone who had just left. The record player spun an old song once more, Ella Fitzgerald's voice weaving through the morning breeze, stirring deep emotions within. I drew the blanket tightly around my knees, sank into the chair, and let my eyes flutter shut. Only one more week to go. Just one meeting, a fragment of the past. For 30 years, I unknowingly readied myself for this moment. That morning, I hesitated to open the letter. The familiar ivory envelope lay on the table since last night, untouched and heavy with unspoken words. I brewed coffee, played an old Ella Fitzgerald record, opened the window to invite the breeze, and fought to ignore how that small piece of paper made my hands tremble with unease. Yet it lingered, a soft but persistent echo. As the first light pierced through the kitchen curtains, I finally sat down and unfolded the letter. It was brief, just a handful of lines, yet it held a weight that lingered in the air. Silence hangs heavy, devoid of context or connection. I read it 3 times, hoping the words would transform under my gaze. Next week, I return to Asheville. My mother requires someone to look after her. I hope we can meet again soon. It was over. No time left, no inquiries into her well-being, no further insights into her existence. Yet, I understood that for Julia Harrington, it was a heartfelt call to connection. I placed the letter back on the table, this time facing up, unlike last night. Perhaps a piece of me craved its presence, unmistakably in sight. I rose, paced through the house, flung open the living room window, and gazed into the backyard. It was just another day, yet my heart pounded as if it might burst free. I hesitated to respond. It wasn't anger that held me back, nor doubt about Julia Harrington. I simply wasn't prepared to confront my own reflection in that meeting. The question was never about wanting to see Julia Harrington again. Who will I become when I face her once more? That afternoon, I sifted through my old box of stationery and postcards, not in search of a nice card, but to uncover the trace of my own handwriting. It had been ages since I last penned a letter by hand, but if Julia Harrington had opted for this intimate gesture, I felt compelled to follow suit. I scribbled a few lines, only to rip them apart in frustration. Rewritten, wipe it all away, rewrite it once more. Ultimately, I held on to just a single sentence. I'll be there this Saturday. Clear. Not a moment longer than Julia Harrington's. I pressed it down and let it slip into the mailbox, heart racing before doubt could take hold. The days that followed seemed to transport me a decade into the past. I was unaware of how my pace had slowed, how I scrutinized my clothes, how I meticulously combed my hair. One morning, I stood before the mirror for nearly half an hour, not out of fear of aging, but in search of the woman Julia Harrington had once known, questioning if she still existed within me. On Friday night, I sat on the porch, hot tea in hand, a blanket wrapped around me, gazing at the quiet road that wound toward the heart of town. The street lights glowed yellow, casting fleeting shadows as cars whizzed by, their reflections dancing on the glass. The memory of Julia Harrington and me standing beneath those lights, saying goodbye after our senior prom, flooded back to me. Her gaze lingered on me, heavy with unspoken words, before she wrapped her arms around me gently and turned to leave. I was torn between wanting her to linger and wishing for her swift departure. Perhaps it's a blend of both. Even after all these years, that look remains vivid in my mind, a haunting question forever unanswered. I can't tell if I was ready for a meeting or a confrontation with my past, but one thing is clear. My heart is restless now. I stepped into the Julia Harrington's house at 3:15 on a Saturday afternoon, the air thick with anticipation. The sky loomed heavy, the sun barely breaking through the trees, casting a ghostly yellow glow on the old porch where Julia Harrington and I had spent that unforgettable summer when I was 16. The house felt hauntingly familiar, a ghost of my memories lingering in every corner. The familiar dark green tiled roof looms, white shutters stand stark, and the creaky wooden swing on the porch whispers memories. The hydrangeas by the fence were beginning to fade, yet their pale blue lingered, a haunting reminder of beauty on the brink. At the edge of the cobblestone path, I paused, gripping my bag tightly. With a deep breath, I approached and knocked softly on the wooden door. The door creaked open and Julia Harrington stepped out, her presence electrifying the air. She wore a burgundy cardigan, her hair cropped shorter than before, silver streaks glinting at her temples. Yet that smile remained unchanged. I expected you to arrive much earlier. Julia Harrington laughed softly, her hand lingering on the doorknob, her eyes brimming with emotion. I'll step outside for a moment, I said, a slight nod escaping my lips, just to take a moment to observe your surroundings. Julia Harrington stepped aside, her hand extended, beckoning me into the unknown. I crossed the threshold, and it was as if I was unveiling a weathered book, its pages creased with untold stories. The house lingered with the haunting aroma of lemon and wood. The kitchen echoed with the sharp clink of glasses, a sound that pierced the silence. An older woman turned, her smile warm yet fleeting, Mrs. Julia Harrington, her hair a stark white, still drying a glass with careful hands. Eleanor Morgan. Oh, how much time has passed. She spoke, a blend of wonder and warmth in her gaze, eyes glimmering with a hint of deep-seated fondness. Over 25 years, I murmured, drawing nearer and grasping her hand, sensing the warmth beneath the wrinkles. A man's voice echoed from the living room. Eleanor Morgan. I turned and locked eyes with Mr. Julia Harrington from the armchair by the window. He appeared friendlier than I recalled, his hair nearly all white, yet his eyes remained sharp, bright, and full of life. Hello, I said, bowing slightly. Time has stretched endlessly. He nodded, his voice steady and filled with warmth. Take a seat, please. This chair holds my childhood, a silent witness to the girl I once was. I approached the worn, moss-colored velvet chair facing the flickering flames, a smile tugging at my lips. The family photos on the shelf remained, a haunting reminder of what once was. Some were fresh, while others had lost their vibrancy to time. A snapshot of young Julia Harrington in a floral dress, cradling a black cat named Milo, caught my eye. My heart plummeted. We lingered in the living room, time stretching painfully for 15 minutes. Julia Harrington poured the steaming tea, while Mrs. Julia Harrington sliced into the rich butter cake, the air thick with anticipation. Mr. Edward posed a few courteous questions, yet even in the cozy familiarity, a veil lingered between the past and the present, as if we could reach out but never fully return to those bygone days. Do you still savor peppermint tea? Julia Harrington extended a cup towards me, a delicate wisp of steam curling into the air. Yes, I mentioned brushing against the porcelain gently. The flavor remains the same. She smiled as she settled beside me, our shoulders nearly brushing, a spark igniting in the space between us. The scent of old lavender shampoo lingered in the air, haunting and familiar. Julia Harrington's voice trembled with disbelief. I can't believe you've actually heard back. I wondered if you ever would. I glanced at her, my gaze caught on the slight purse of her lips. I believed that as well, I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. First, I hesitated to respond. A fleeting moment of silence. Not awkward, merely weighty. What made you reconsider? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I sipped my tea, then let the words spill out, deliberate and heavy. I can't allow a piece of me to rest like that any longer. Julia Harrington remained silent. She gazed at me, her dark eyes holding a depth I had long forgotten. The gaze disturbed me, not due to its rarity, but because it felt hauntingly known, so deeply ingrained that I lost count of the years spent without it. After tea, Julia Harrington beckoned me into the back garden, our hidden refuge from high school days. The old stone bench remained, shrouded in a thick layer of moss, a silent witness to the passage of time. The white picket fence now stood as a haunting shade of ivory. The sparrows took flight from the rose bushes as we stepped outside. Do you remember this place? Julia Harrington asked, her fingers gliding gently over the rose bushes. I believed I could let it go, I confessed. Yet, memories lie in wait, dormant and ready to awaken. A familiar breeze stirs them from their slumber. Julia Harrington nodded, her gaze fixed on the trees, a silent storm brewing within her. I feel the same. I feel the same way. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I believed I could erase it from my mind. She turned to face me, her eyes revealing everything this time. In truth, it was merely a way to escape the haunting memories. The moment shimmered with a delicate brightness. Silence enveloped us, yet an unspoken understanding lingered, a truth that needed no words. Something we had held close in our youth, now gently unfurling in the dimming afternoon light. I stared at Julia Harrington, lost in thought. She looked the same, yet everything felt different. Even after all these years, the person before me was still the one I couldn't fool myself about, the one who held a place in my heart that I couldn't ignore. We never truly said goodbye, I whispered, hoping that my words would somehow bring it to life. No, Julia Harrington said, her voice steady but laced with unspoken weight. We drifted apart in silence, each holding the weight of the other in our hearts. I wrapped my fingers tightly around the icy cup of tea, yet my heart began to stir with warmth. After tea and a brief conversation in the garden, Julia Harrington stepped away from the living room to answer a call from the hospital regarding her mother's routine checkup. I waited inside, heart racing, longing for her return. I moved cautiously down the hallway, my hands tightly clasped, fighting to maintain my composure. The house was small, yet its corners whispered of memories long past. The dusty bookcase that concealed our secrets, the wooden stairs where I fell in high heels for the first time, and the ivory door at the end of the hallway, Julia Harrington's room. My hand hovered over the doorknob, uncertainty gripping me. Perhaps it was the pull of curiosity. Perhaps my heart made its choice before my mind could intervene. The door wasn't locked. I forced the door ajar and entered. Inside, it resembled a teenage bedroom, preserved like a haunting relic of youth. The walls held a faded blue-gray hue, and the old posters of the Cranberries clung stubbornly to the headboard. A tiny desk sat by the window, holding secrets of its own. A pillow adorned with the letter R lay perfectly centered on the bed, a silent witness to untold stories. Clean and untouched, it felt as though a presence had been there, tidying up, preserving the room in a haunting stillness of time. I perched on the bed's edge, my palms pressed against the quilt, its softness echoing memories long past. My gaze landed on a small wooden box perched on the bookshelf, its lid slightly ajar, beckoning with an unspoken mystery. Something compelled me to rise and draw nearer. Perhaps it was the shiver that ran down my spine when my name echoed from an unseen shadow. I lifted the lid. Within lay a pile of handwritten letters, many left unsealed. each one brimming with untold stories. Some had faded to a haunting yellow. The handwriting blurred into obscurity. Every one was directed to the recipient. My heart raced at the sight of a letter, its familiar lines scrawled in small handwriting. Eleanor Morgan, a year etched in memory, 1991. I grasped it tightly, my hands trembled uncontrollably. Though just a fragile sheet, it bore the burden of untold moments. I scanned the surroundings. Silence enveloped me, no footsteps to be heard. I unfolded the letter, my breath hitching in my throat. Eleanor Morgan, I've attempted to put this into words countless times, but I always find myself pausing, unable to continue. It's not that I lack words. It's the weight of unspoken truths that haunts me, the fear of irreversible consequences that keeps me silent. I can rely on you completely. I could share the depths of my mother's fading memories, the loathing I feel for chemistry, the desire to escape school that grips me, yet I remain paralyzed by fear. Yet there's a secret I've kept buried deep, one I may never share. I long to call you something more than just best friend. This feeling crept in without warning. Perhaps it was the moment you stood in the rain, offering me your coat for the first time, or when you sat beside me in the darkness after the farewell party. Perhaps it was ages past, yet I choose to hold it close, a cherished secret. Your silence is enough for me. You are loved, and I need you to hear that just this once. Boldly authentic, effortlessly real, with no need for guarantees. I've lost count of how many times I've read that letter. Words swirled and faded as tears threatened to spill over. Only drops fell on the letter, each one a silent testament, soaking into the paper and blurring the ink's message. I folded it with precision, returning it to the box, just as it had been. But I realized that once the truth is revealed, there's no going back to ignorance.